Private labeling is a great way to add value to your customers, and a great way to do it these days is by doing heat transfers. Now, we can always get DTF transfers, but did you know with your screen printing press, you can actually screen print your own one-color neck label transfers very cost effectively and very easily. For doing one-color transfers, it's actually pretty easy. You don't need a vacuum, platen, you just need a few extra supplies. So first thing that you're going to need is transfer paper. This is a premium hot peel transfer paper. That costs about 25 cents a sheet or so. Very affordable. You can get it for a lower cost if you buy more of it. Next, you're gonna need your transfer adhesion powder. The transfer adhesion powder is very similar to like DTF transfer adhesion powder. This sticks onto your wet Plastisol in order to stick it later onto your garment. Next, you'll need simple spray tack and then a premium ink. Good opaque ink will work better on transfers. So for this, we're gonna be using our Quick White from Wilflex. For our screen, we're gonna be using a mid mesh. This is a 158 mesh. We can also use a little bit lower mesh if we want a little bit more opacity. And we're reversing out our art and stencil. So essentially, we're just burning this art backwards on the screen because we're gonna go ahead and transfer that. Important to note with your screen department because they're used to burning it the exact opposite way. For one-color transfers, we don't have to worry about pre-shrinking the transfer because we don't need a vacuum platen, we just need a sticky platen because it's only getting one color of ink on it. We also just need to make sure that this transfer is placed generally in the same spot. You can be exact by creating a jig, but you really don't need to for one-color transfers, though it does help in the cutting process. Important here is that we have good off contact, not too high, not too low, maybe slightly more than a piece of paper. So I'm gonna slightly lower this off contact here. We're using a wide squeegee to make sure that we have good and even pressure across the entire print. And then a good amount of ink. Again, this is a Wilflex Quick White, great for a variety of applications. We want to free flood our stencil. And then with our print, the reason why we want to lower angles, we want to lay a little bit more ink down on that paper to give us a nice opaque transfer. And then that's our first print. Looks pretty good. I'm looking for crisp edges and a nice ink deposit there while maintaining that small detail of the label. Okay, we're ready to put our transfer adhesion powder on. So we want to put our transfer adhesion powder into a big bin so that it stays contained, it's easy to scoop in and out, and it keeps clean because we can put a lid over it if we're not using it. For the rest of this print, we're going to be using PPE. We're simply using gloves and a KN95 mask. Simply take our printed transfer and we want to carefully just dip it underneath, and we want to make sure that we get all of the ink covered with that adhesion powder. Not too hard to do. Want to make sure we're not getting a lot of powder on our gloves, and we just slaply tap it off to make sure that that adhesion powder is not sticking to areas of the transfer that don't have ink on it. Next, we're going to go for a gel cure. So we're putting this into a dryer. We want it to get to about 260 to 280 degrees, and we want to make sure that part of the ink is slightly pulling up, it's gummy. We want to make sure that the transfer will release. It can't be stuck to it. If it's stuck to it, it's too over cured. If it's wet, then it's under cured. You see how that's gummy right there? This is a good gel cure right there. Once you got everything set up and going, this process goes pretty fast and you can print quite a few transfers. And they're very easy to print too because you're printing on paper. Paper doesn't move. It holds the ink really well. Now that our transfers are printed, let's take our heat press over here, cut them out and transfer them. Okay, we got our Stahls Hotronix Fusion IQ heated up. For this transfer temperature, we're gonna be using 320 degree, medium 6 or so pressure, and only the top plate. We don't need the bottom plate heated up there. I've also ganged these up by most popular sizes. So we have a couple mediums, the most larges, a few extra larges, a double X and only one small. For this, we're gonna be transferring our large. We need to cut these out. So I'm just using scissors. If you wanna make sure this goes fast and consistent, use a paper cutter. Very simple to know where you're lined up center because that's where the tag is gonna be. So I always leave the tags on to go ahead and pull the tag off. Now, if you have a problem sticking your transfer, you can use a little bit of transfer adhesion tape right there, but these want to go fast. So you can just put them down and transfer them and you're good to go. 6 pressure, 10-second transfer, and this is going to be a hot peel, so we're going to peel it as soon as it pops up. And that peeled nicely. Let's go ahead and do another one. The cool thing about doing transfers on things like fleece is you can see the extreme detail we're able to hold with this small instructional text. So why print your own transfers versus buying DTF or pre-printed transfers? So let's say our shop overhead is $70 an hour, printing 100 transfers per hour. That's 70 cents a transfer to print, which is kind of high because we probably could go faster. Now let's take all those costs. So that's 25, 15, and 70, $1.10 per sheet divided by 9. It's only costing us about 12 cents a transfer. Compare that to DTF transfer. For Ninja transfers on our site, a 22 by 24 gang sheet fits about 56 or so of these transfers, but it costs $20. So that costs 36 cents per transfer. So breaking that down, doing it this way actually saves us about 3 times per transfer, and we probably could have optimized that by printing a little faster and putting more transfers per sheet. And there you have it, a simple and cost-effective way to do your own neck labeling while using your own screen printing equipment and printing your own transfers and saving money. To learn more about transfer printing, check out screenprinting.com. If you have any questions, drop a comment on this video below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for powering the print with Ryonet. It's everywhere! Ink everywhere!